Hello, everyone. Welcome to Court with Krissy and Linda. We're back for another Licking County bench trial where the crime scene is Newark's hotspot, the hub. Today's defendant, she's smart. She got an attorney. But how will it end? I hope you like it. Right, Linda? Court with Krissy is now in session.
Go up those steps. Remain standing and raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm testimony you should give this case now being heard to the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God or under penalty of perjury.
I do.
Have a seat. State your full name, spell your last name,
Sean Smith, Smith,
and state your home address. Thank you.
May I proceed?
Thank you. Where do you work?
the Newark hub,
Okay, and what's your capacity there?
100,
Pardon?
100.
You own it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I want to call your attention to October the 13th, 2024. Did you have a run-in or an incident involving an Elsie Grady?
Yes, sir.
Is she in the courtroom today?
Yes, sir.
And point her out to the judge, if you would. Point it to the female at the other table.
That is correct.
And the hub, that's located in the city of Newark, Licking County, state of Ohio?
370 West Church Street, Newark, Ohio. Yes, sir.
Okay. And so what led to the dispute involving you and Ms. Grady?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Yeah, what was involved?
So she was getting vulgar to the bartenders, so she was asked to leave. She refused to leave, so therefore I apprehended her and asked her to leave again, and she would not leave, so I had to call the authorities.
Okay. Did she ever go, while you were apprehending her or stopping her, did she ever go outside?
She went outside and said she'll leave when she wants to, but
Okay.
it was out in the beer garden, so it's still on the premises.
Okay. And the premises include, I think you referred to the beer garden as well as the parking lot?
The beer garden is actually part of the occupancy. The parking lot is the parking lot, so it is actually a different spot. After we got her to the parking lot, she refused to leave again, so we called the authorities.
Okay. And did you speak to the authorities who showed up?
Yes, sir.
And that would be Officer Petticord.
Yes, sir.
And did she give you any reason why she didn't want to leave?
Yeah, she basically was saying that she wasn't leaving. She was gonna do whatever she wanted to do, and she seemed as if she was a little uppity and maybe on something, but that's just an accusation.
Could you tell whether or not she was under the influence of alcohol?
Yeah, she was definitely drinking somewhat, but she wasn't like crazy intoxicated.
He doesn't have to be an expert. Anyone can testify as to whether someone's been drinking.
Say I saw her swaying back and forth, or something like that, you can't say whether she was intoxicated. He didn't give her a breathalyzer yet. He's not qualified to make that kind of testimony.
You can rephrase the question, Mr.
Okay. Have you seen people who have been drinking and under the influence of alcohol?
Yes, sir.
And how would you describe Ms. Grady?
She was drunk.
Nothing further.
Mr. Proctor.
Okay, so on this day, October 14th, you were working that day.
Yes, sir.
What were you doing?
I was there helping the bartenders and bouncing and managing, sir.
So when you first encountered Miss Grady, you were bartending, is that correct?
I was not bartending. That was a female bartender she got very vulgar with, and she was asked to leave from my bartender to me, so I went and told her she needed to leave, and she had enough, and I was very polite about it, and she at first agreed. She went out back, and then she started to be very defiant.
Okay, so let's hold up here. I don't want you to tell me what the bartender said, but because of some conversation you had with your employee, you went over and you asked Miss Grady to leave. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir.
Where were you when that happened?
I was on the edge of the bar when I was asked, because that is my job, is to make sure that my
You were on the edge of
bartenders.
the bar when you talked to Miss Grady?
No, she was sitting at a table with her friend.
Okay, so after you said, I'd like you to leave, and she wouldn't leave,
That is correct.
what did she say to you?
She said, "I'm leaving," and then I had to say it again. I had to rephrase it and say, "Hey, I need you to go now." And then she went out back to the beer garden, where we also have occupancy.
But you don't know whether or not she understood you meant leave the premises altogether, or just leave the inside of the building. You don't know.
I do know, yes, because when I went outside, I said, "You have to get off the premises."
So at that point, when you said, the first time you said, I want you to leave, you didn't, but then later is when you might have known.
It was more or less me following her out back and then her refusing to leave.
Okay, so you followed her from inside, you said, I want you to leave, she goes out to the beer garden, and then what did you say to her then?
That is when I said, "You need to leave the premises."
So did you tell her, going outside isn't good enough, I want you to leave the premises, is that what you said?
Yes, I said, "You need to get off the premises."
Okay, so then what happened after that?
She started to act like she was going to come back inside and actually made some threats, and it seemed as if she was, could probably hurt somebody, so, yeah.
Okay, so what I'm getting confused about is at some point you said you apprehended her,
Yes, sir.
when did that happen?
That is when she started throwing elbows and punches and kicks. So I grabbed her and put her on the corner of the bar, or the parking lot.
Inside or in the beer garden?
Outside.
In the parking lot?
Outside in the beer garden to the parking lot.
The beer garden is just adjacent to the parking lot, is that what you're saying?
No, sir. The beer garden is a fenced-in area where patrons can drink.
Okay, so you apprehended her in the parking lot?
Negative. I asked her to leave, and then I went ahead and put her on the corner of the parking lot and said, "Now I'm calling the police."
So she did leave the beer garden and went to the parking lot?
Negative. She refused to leave.
Well, where did you apprehend her?
In the beer garden.
Okay. Now, after you apprehended her, she went to the parking lot?
She was in the parking lot and still refused to leave.
Okay, so when she went to the parking lot, what did you say to her there?
I asked her to leave.
What did she say?
She said, "Call the cops."
Did you tell her the parking lot is part of our property?
Yes.
And she said what?
She refused to leave. She wanted the police called.
Okay, that's all I have.
Mr. King.
Parking lot is part of the business,
That is correct.
nothing further.
You may step down and make all your next witness.
Officer Petticord?
Right up there to the witness stand, please. Remain standing, raise your right hand. Solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you should give in this case now being heard should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or the felony of perjury.
I do.
Have a seat. State your full name, spell your last name,
Officer Matthew Petticord, Peddicord,
and state your business address.
39 South 4th Street, Newark, Ohio, 43055.
Thank you.
You may proceed.
Thank you. You're employed by the Newark Police Department?
I am, sir.
Were you so employed back on October the 13th, 2024?
That's correct.
And did you have occasion to respond to the hub regarding the disturbance?
I have.
And the hub, that's a bar located in the city of Newark, Licking County, state of Ohio?
That is correct, on the corner of West Church Street and North 11th Street.
Okay. And so when you responded, what, if anything, did you observe?
Upon my arrival, I saw, I believe, another officer speaking to the female in question, Ms. Grady, at the north side of the building, which is a sidewalk in front of the establishment that drops off into the parking lot itself. She was off of the sidewalk while another officer was speaking to her.
So she was in the parking lot?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
At that point, I went inside to speak to the complainant about the situation to determine what course of action needed to be taken.
And that was Mr. Smith,
That's correct.
and that's when he told you he wanted her gone.
That's correct.
Hearsay.
He's
Mr.
already
Smith did
testified.
not testify about any conversation with the officer. Hearsay.
I'll withdraw it, Your Honor. Did you tell her to leave?
Yes.
How many times?
Step down. Anything else today, Mr. Proctor?
Well,
Okay, Elise Green.
yeah. Yeah.
Right up there to the witness stand, please. Remain standing and raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you should give in this case now being heard should be the truth?
Yes.
The whole truth and nothing but the truth. So help you God, or under the penalty of perjury?
Yes.
Have a seat. State your full name, spell your last name.
Elsie Marie Grady, Grady.
And state your full home address.
Thank you.
Yeah, proceed.
Ms. Grady, you're aware you are the defendant in this case, and you're aware the charges have been violated
Yes,
for trespass.
yes,
And you recall being at the hub on October 14th of this year?
it was 13th, 14th, kind of like on the cusp.
It was last year?
It was this year, but it was like 13th slash
Okay, you
14th.
recall being
Yes, yeah.
Okay, can you tell the court what happened?
Well, I
There.
was drinking that evening, I'm not gonna say I wasn't, but the only issue I had with any of it was I wanted to leave, I had no issues, but I was waiting on my ride. So, like, that's all I really can say. And they did put their hands on me and they apprehended me out in the beer garden as I was
So
leaving.
let's back up.
So,
Let's go back to when you were at the bar and you were talking to the bartender.
no, I was still sitting at the table when when Sean Smith had approached me.
And the person that was here, Mr. Smith, came up and talked to you.
Yes. And at first I
Tell
thought he
us
was kind of
about that.
kidding because I wasn't sure. I was already talking to somebody else and just having a good time.
Tell us what happened when Mr. Smith talked to you.
He asked me to leave and I said, yeah, that's fine. And then we continued out to the beer garden, which I was getting ready to leave. And he started getting aggressive with me about it. And I'm like,
Did
I'm
you think
going.
that he meant leave the premises altogether or just leave the inside?
Well, I meant, like, I figured the premise of it all together, but I was on my way out anyways, so I didn't see there was an issue. I wasn't trying to stay there. Like, I was headed home. I was waiting on my ride to go get his truck and come get me. So,
Okay, so after he asked you to leave, you went out to the beer garden.
yes.
And tell us what happened there.
Sean and another one of his friends, bartenders, I don't know which, had continued to be very forceful with me, which I was like, well, why would you put your hands on me? There's no point in that. And they put their hands on me, pushed me out to the parking lot. And
Is this Mr.
that-
Smith that did that?
yeah, and his associate friend, whatnot, I don't know who it was.
Did he ask you to leave? You say.
And I said, that's fine.
I
I
gotta
go-
get all the way off?
Well, I told him it was fine. I had no issue with that. And I was like, I'm all right to go get the car until we can go.
So you
And
just wanted to stay in the beer garden until your ride got?
No, I didn't even want to stay in the beer garden. I just wanted to wait either in the alley or on the sidewalk. But once they put their hands on me, I was like, are you serious? Like, then you might as well call the cops because there's no reason for you to put your hands on me. So I was like, well, I'll just wait till the cops show up. So
At that point, you're out in the parking lot, and you're talking to Mr. Smith. Tell me what happened there.
Well, I told my ride, I was kind of mad. I was like, you want to let them put their hands on me like that? Then he was like, I'll just go get the car. And he walked off. And they continued to just like be verbally fucking aggressive with me. Sorry about the language, but they were being very aggressive with me. And so I said, well, just call the cops then. We'll settle it that way. And I was like,
Did you
I'm
stay
waiting on
in
my ride.
there,
So.
did you stay in the parking lot while the cops were
I was
coming?
actually out in the alley, like right off the edge of it, but I wasn't going to walk away while the cops were being called. So I didn't like get like fleeing or something.
Did you walk away when the cops were coming?
No, I like, when I waited until the cops showed up so I could tell them my part of the story.
Stayed in the parking lot until the police?
Right on the edge of the parking lot, right off the sidewalk.
Well, why didn't you just walk down the street a little bit?
Well, I did when they showed up and they said for me to leave, and I was like, that's fine. But I still wanted to tell them, like, look, he put his hands on me, there was no reason for that.
Okay, you had a conversation with the officer?
Yes,
Where was that?
in the alley, I was in the alley.
You weren't in the parking lot?
No, there's a step, and then there's a little, like, I would say about 6 feet, and then there's the telephone lines, and then in the middle fairway alley area, and I walked off into that. Past the telephone poles, past the
Did you
parking
tell
lot.
him that you were on city property?
Yeah, I said I was possibly on the city property, but I wasn't trying to continue to stay there, I was just waiting on my ride.
What did you mean when you said that?
In a fairway, just like in
That
the alley.
is City?
I wasn't trying to be in his parking lot, I was just trying to wait on my ride, and,
Did you tell the officer that?
yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, so then he says if you don't leave, we're gonna arrest you?
Well, he said that I failed to identify, which I'd already told the two officers my last name, they already did a warrant check and all that. I identified, and they were like, well, if you don't leave right now, we're gonna arrest you. And I was like, well, I guess I'm on city property, I'm waiting on my ride. And they pulled me back on the property, put me in the car.
Is there anything else about this whole situation that hasn't come out that you want to make sure the court's aware of?
I was trying to leave, I wasn't trying to be there, I'm not trying to still deal with that, so.
That's all the questions I have.
Mr. King.
Thank you. How much do you have to drink?
About 2 drinks,
2 drinks?
yeah. Because I'd already only been there like maybe an hour.
So, between the time that the owner told you to leave and the time the police arrived, how much time elapsed?
Probably about 15 minutes.
15 minutes?
Yeah.
You saw the Circle K right across the street? You saw the certified gas station right across the street? But you stayed there?
No, I waited for the cops to show up. I'm not gonna leave when he said, well, I'm going to go ahead and call the cops. They put their hands on me, so I said, okay, I'll just wait.
Okay,
Just
nothing
that
further,
they're
Your
gonna
Honor.
hear my
Mr. Parker.
testimony.
So you're saying you waited for the cop because you wanted to report something?
Yeah, because of them putting their hands on me, they jerked me up for no reason. Like, I was already leaving, my boyfriend already had his hand around me, we were leaving.
Did you report that to the officer?
I tried to, but they weren't having it. That's why I wanted to speak and say my side of the story, but
All right, that's all.
You may step down. Anything else, Mr. Proctor?
No, that's it.
Mr. King, anything in closing?
In closing, Your Honor, everyone testified that she was not leaving. She was going to leave on her own terms. The officer who made contact with her, Officer Petticord, she was certainly not in the alley. She didn't walk across the street to the Circle K, and she certainly didn't walk to the certified gas station. She was told to leave. Never mentioned, in fact, the officer never asked, was she waiting on a ride, and that's not what that means when we want you to leave. She was told inside, refused, told outside, and refused. She's guilty as charged. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Proctor?
The requirement under the statute is if you're asked to leave and you don't leave, there's a time period that passes, then that can become a trespass. She's not required to go across the street to another gas station or anything like that. She just has to leave. So she's asked to leave inside the property. I guess she didn't really completely understand, and that off the premises altogether, so she goes outside the beer garden area to wait for a ride. No, you gotta leave, okay. And then she ends up in the parking lot, and that's where they get into this tussle and so forth, and she wants the police to come as much as they do. Certainly the wiser course would be to get off the property, at least walk down the street a little bit. But she stayed in that area. According to her, she's off the property, she's in the alley. So she did leave. I don't think there's enough, in spite of the fact she's being told several times, there's enough to show that she had the intent to remain on the property after being told to leave. Even with the officer's testimony, I'm telling you, you're on the property, get off the property, because she didn't think she was. She thought she was in the alley. She didn't think that's their property. So I'd ask the court to find her not guilty.
Thank you. Based on the evidence presented here today, I find Ms. Grady guilty of trespass, State of recommendation,
We defer to the court, Your Honor.
Mr. Proctor.
I don't think she has any real history other than tapping. I would ask that the court not give her any jail time. Or if the court wants to do a suspended sentence and probation, do that, but I would ask the court just do a fine. It's a 4th-degree misdemeanor, so it's not that serious.
Ms. Grady, you want to say anything today?
I just recently got my job and I'm just trying to keep moving. I ain't trying to deal with one to hug or anything like that, so, yeah. And I really didn't intend to stay on the property, didn't intend to return to the property. Yeah.
Unopposed court costs, 3 days jail. Anything further today?
Yeah.
Can we have time to report?
So we can get my job.
I'll continue bond for report date.
Yeah, 'cause I know you get something over.
Phil?
So just continue on bond until, report it. Okay.
Your Honor, the 3 days, did she get any credit for time served?
She doesn't have any credit.
Oh,
She bonded out the day she got arrested.
okay.
Ma'am, if you'll have a seat right back here on this one right there.
Which one are you on?